Hi, this is Jake with Cabinet Solutions Design Software, and today's video is going to be a demonstration of the Cabinet Solutions program. Our program does have a lot of tips and tricks in it, and also a lot of different features to help you get the most out of whatever job it is that you're trying to work on. We will not be going over absolutely everything today because everybody builds things differently. So what we're going to do is we're just going to hit the absolute basics, which is the draw walls, place cabinets, the elevations, the 3D, the standards, and some other features such as job costing and panel optimizing. So first thing we're going to do is take a look at the job information screen. This screen here is where you would put in the information for your company. Your information would be your shop name, address, city, state, zip, phone number. All of that gets saved with the program itself. That gets saved into your preferences. The other information below it, this offer is submitted to and work will be performed at, that information gets saved with the job file itself. After you take a look at your job information screen, the very first thing I recommend doing is taking a look at your standard screen. Standards is the way that you're telling the program how you build the cabinets. This is what material that you use, what thickness that you use, your door and drawer front information, including overlays. This has a lot of information in it that needs to be gone through at least one time for your shop. What we recommend doing is going through this, setting up a basic set of how you start your jobs first, and then save those standards to a file. Once you go through each option on here, go to Save Standards to File at the top of your screen, give your standards a name, save your standards, and then you could always bring those standards up at a later time by telling it to load standards from file. You can build it in European and in face frame mode. Keep in mind, you're not limited to just one set of standards for Euro and one set of standards for face frame. You can have as many different types of standards as your computer can hold. Standards works in different ways. You have the job standards, which affects the entire job and should be gone through before you even start the job. You have cabinet standards, which I'll go through later. What cabinet standards does is that customizes an individual cabinet away from the rest of the job. Now, any changes made to your job standards after you've customized cabinets will not affect those cabinets. So the changes that you want added onto those customized cabinets will have to be added on at a later time. There's also one last option there, and that's the openings and rollouts. Openings and rollouts customizes an individual opening away from the rest of the cabinet and away from the rest of the job, which means also that any changes made to an individual opening, job standards or cabinet standards will not modify that opening. So keep that in mind if you're looking at your information and noticing that some of the items aren't coming out correctly after you've made a change to your standards. I'm just going to be using the factory default standards for this demonstration, so we're going to click on Apply to Job Standards. Then we're going to go ahead and click on OK to get out of our job information window. What you're looking at now is the floor plan view. This is where you can create your walls, modify your wall height, add windows, doors, or general obstructions to your floor plan, and also to the elevations and 3D views. To create a wall, all you do is left click anywhere on this grid square and drag your mouse out any direction that you want. Right now I'm set to snap to angle, which means that my line will be drawn at increments of 15 degrees, and I can drag it in any length and direction that I need it to be. If you need more fine control, that's what the freehand drawing button is for. Select that and you'll be able to draw your wall out in degree by degree increments. We do not do half degrees. When you're drawing your wall, keep in mind that each one of these grid squares is 12 inches by 12 inches, so we give you a very accurate floor plan when you create your job. I'm going to go ahead and drag my wall out into the direction that I want it to be. I don't need to worry about the wall size immediately because once I let go of my mouse, I have the option of changing the name, the height, and the length of that wall. So I'm going to make my wall 150 inches. I'm going to click on OK and place my wall. Now I'm going to create a second wall coming off this first one. What I want to do is I want to start from the corner and drag my wall in the direction that I want it to go. I'm going to drag it down and let's make this wall 200 inches. And click on OK. So now I have my room on this job laid out that I want it to be. If I wanted to create more rooms, I can just click on Start New Room and give that new room a name. I can do Delete this room, which deletes the entire job. If you delete the only room in the job, it starts the program over again. You could also go to change the room name. So that way, right now I'm looking at room number 1. I could be looking at kitchen, garage, bathroom, mudroom, whatever room it is that you want to call it. After you draw your walls, I'm going to go to my edit wall and click on this top wall here. I'm going to add a window to this wall. So let's go ahead and click on place window. I have different options for what type of window do I want to place. I can place a general window, a pane window, an arch window, and a window opening. I'm going to leave it at just regular window. And I'm going to tell the program the distance from the square side, which is up here at this top corner, from the square side to the center of that window. So to do that, I just click on center align and make that change. If I wanted to, I could actually tell it the distance from the square side or from the star side to the outside edge of that window. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to make it center aligned so I can put in that exact measurement. Go ahead and click on OK, and now I have my window drawn in on this job. I'm going to click on OK to get out of this edit wall screen. After I have my walls drawn, next step is to place cabinets at my job. So let's go to the place cabinet screen. And over here on the left hand side, my information has changed. I have a bunch of different predefined cabinets in our software that I can choose from to place. I have base cabinets on the top, upper cabinets in the middle, various other cabinets such as my radius cabinets, clipped end cabinets, my sink base, my vanity cabinets, my space cabinets, and then down below that I have my full height pantry, my double oven, my appliances, and a custom cabinet button. So let's go ahead and start my corner. I'm going to place an angled corner cabinet, and some of these, when you click on them, instead of getting measurement screens right away, you have the option of doing an upper or a base cabinet. In this case, I'm going to do a base cabinet, and now I have my measurement screen. I can change the depth, the width, the height, the distance from the floor to bottom. I could set my corner depth sizing, which this resizes the side panels of my angled corner cabinets depending on the depth of the cabinet that goes up against it. I'm going to leave everything as default and just click on place. I'm going to drag my cabinet onto the wall and place. When I'm placing my cabinets, I'm moving my mouse with it. I'm not clicking it, I'm just moving my mouse along the wall and then clicking on it to place the cabinet. Once I place a cabinet, you'll notice that I always overlap my cabinets, cabinet to cabinet or cabinet to wall. And the reason why is because I want to make sure there's no hidden little gap or anything like that that's going to throw my measurements off. After I place my corner cabinet here, let's go ahead and place my sink cabinet. I'm going to click on it and click on place. Now before I do, there's an option on here that's selected by default that's not selected anywhere else, and that's called center in window. This is using a feature in our program called Smart Placer. Smart Placer does numerous different things. It will not allow a cabinet to be placed beyond the size that you specify. It will not allow the cabinets to overlap each other and stay overlapped. Make sure that the cabinets stay within the standards that you give it. And for sink cabinets, as long as there's room, it'll always make sure to snap the center of that sink cabinet on that wall to the center of that window. In this case, there is room, so the program's going to snap that cabinet underneath that window. So after I place my two cabinets here, let's go ahead and round out the backside of my room here. So let's go to my full height pantry. And let's go ahead and start filling in some cabinets here. Let's do a drawer bank. Let's do regular base. But in this case, I'm going to oversize this to, let's say, 100 inches and place. Another feature of Smart Placer is it will not allow the cabinet to be placed larger than the space allowed. So let's say I have 57 inches, but my cabinet is 100 inches. When I click on it, the cabinet's going to shrink down to fit into the desired amount. You'll notice that there's 4 inches away from the end of wall on either side. That's part of your job standards. That's under the initial value screen, which I'll pull it up. Go to Standards, Adjust Job Standards. Under Initial Values, I go to Windows and Doors. We give you a 3-inch clearance away from the edging of the window and a 4-inch clearance away from the end of door or end of wall. We give you a 4-inch clearance away from the end of wall or a door, and that's to allow for casing. You can always make changes to this information and then click on Apply to Jobs or save it. That option is totally up to you. So after I place those, let's go ahead and fill out this back wall here. Let's go ahead and show off another feature of our program, and it's called Smart Fill. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cabinet here. Let's make it 72 inches long. Place my cabinet. And now what I can do is I can keep this as one solid cabinet, or I can break it up into as many different cabinets as I need to. Let's go ahead and break up this cabinet here. So what I need to do is, after I place my extremely large cabinet, I click on that cabinet and I go to Smart Fill. What Smart Fill does is it breaks it up into however many equal sized cabinets that you tell it to do. In this case, let's do 3 cabinets. It's a great way for filling out a room very quickly. Let's go ahead and place an appliance over here. I'm going to go to my appliances and let's place in a slide in range. And now let's go ahead and fill out the rest of the job with a very large drawer bank. Let's again make this oversized, 50 inches, and place. And the program's going to snap that in and shrink it down to fit that desired gap there, which is 33 3/4. After I place my drawer bank here, let's go ahead and place in some upper cabinets to fill out the rest of the room here. So again, I'm going to start in the corner. I always start in the corner because I find it easier. Once you have things started in the corner and grow it out to the edges of the room, it makes it so much easier to keep everything aligned. So let's place in my upper. Again, unless I make changes to the width, I'm leaving everything as default values. Place. Let's go ahead and place in some upper cabinets here. 50 inches. Place over here. There's my 3-inch gap away from that window. Let's do another one. Again, 100 inches. Place. It's going to shrink it down to 50 inches. So that way it has that 3-inch gap away from the window. I'm going to do a smaller 12-inch cabinet. Place it in the corner right here. And then let's do a very large 72-inch cabinet over here. So that way it covers up those 3. I'm going to break this cabinet up internally, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. And let's do one last upper cabinet. I'm going to make this one to be my 33 3/4. And place there. So now my room is essentially finished. So after I have my room drawn, let's go to my elevation screen. This is the elevation screen of our job here. This shows you the first wall that we've drawn. This has my large upper, 2 large uppers, my angled corner cabinets, my window, my sink base, etc. All of this information does appear on the screen, and if you print out your elevation screen, it's going to be there as well. Now, if you wanted to give a copy to your customer to make sure that they don't take your drawings to a competitor and you've just lost that job, go to Display Doors. And that hides all the information on the screen there relevant to this job. What you're going to do is you're going to print out the elevations with the display doors enabled, and that's going to give them just this screen. Won't tell them what cabinet numbers it is, won't tell them their measurements on the screen or anything like that. It may have that information below, but that's information that will not affect the customer in any way. So after we've hidden everything, let's go ahead and break up these cabinets a little bit here. This large base cabinet here, I'm going to click on it to single it out. And this is where that custom cabinet screen comes into play that I mentioned earlier. So what you're going to do is you can add in a tray divider. You can add in center rails, mullions, mullion style, center styles. You can view and delete your boards. You can change your openings, add shelves, change your end type, adjust the cabinet standards, which again affects only this one cabinet. You could view any cabinet notes that may be printed out with the assembly sheet. You could view the assembly sheet. You can save this to your library. What I'm going to do is I'm going to split this cabinet up so that way it's 2 cabinets in one. Let's go ahead and go to mullion. The reason why there's 3 different types there's mullion, mullion style, and center style is all of them do different things. The mullion goes in between your rails basically. A mullion style will keep the same top rail that goes across the entire width of your cabinet, but it'll break up your center rails and your bottom rail, and a center style splits all of your rails. I'm going to use a mullion for this demonstration. Once I click on that, I can tell it to place a partition behind the mullion. I can adjust my mullion size, I can adjust the location of my partition behind the mullion, and if I go to properties, I can adjust the information further on from there. Let's say I want to dado my partition into my face frame, or I want to dado my partition into fixed shelves. I'm not going to adjust any of this information for this cabinet, so let's just go ahead and click on OK, and click on Continue, and I'll have a little window that comes up here that gives me a representation of my openings. So if I click once on top, and once on opening number 2, you're going to notice that it adds those mullions in and splits those openings, and then click on OK. If I make a mistake and I want to remove one of those mullions, I go to View and Delete Boards. I hover my mouse over the item there, and it may be a little bit hard to do at first, but you could always hold down your right mouse button to rotate the cabinet around, or if the cabinet's too low on your screen, if you hold down the Shift key on your keyboard and then hold down the right mouse button, you can move the cabinet around. But what you do is you hover over that item on your screen there, and you'll notice if you're on the correct item by looking at the top left corner of your screen, it tells you what the mouse is currently over. In this case, it's my partition, so it's not what I'm looking for. I want to rotate it around to make it a little bit easier to grab. And once I'm on my mullion here, I can click on it to remove it. Once you click on an item, it asks if you are sure that you want to delete this item. Remember, once an item has been deleted, you're not able to place it back unless you either redraw the cabinet, or in the case of a mullion or mullion style or center style, you may be able to add those in again. But items such as side panels, once they're removed, they're gone. If you want to put them back, you're going to have to rebuild the cabinet. I'm going to go ahead and tell it no because I want to keep everything on there, and click on Done, and that gets me out of that custom cabinet screen. Remember that large upper cabinet that we placed? Let's go ahead and customize that one now. So I'm going to change my wall from wall 1 to wall 2, and now I can click on this upper cabinet here to customize it. Let's go ahead and add in some mullion styles because I want to break my bottom rail and my bottom of this cabinet here. So mullion style, we're going to place the partition behind there. But if I go to properties, I want to tell it to split my bottom, split my nailer, and split my back. The reason why is I want to split this into 3 different openings, and I want to move the bottom rail of that middle opening up by a certain distance. So that way I can build this out of one solid cabinet, but have different elevations for different openings. To do this, make sure that you modify the items that correspond with what you're trying to do. If I'm trying to split my bottom and my bottom rail because I want to move one part up, I have to make sure to split my bottom, which I wanted to do, split my nailer because there's nailers in the cabinets, and then split my back, which is also important because I'm modifying the back and the nailers. So after I have that, I'm going to go ahead and click on OK, click on Continue, and again I have my opening information here. I'm just going to click twice to place those. Now, since I'm adjusting the opening size of this middle opening here, I'm going to go to Openings and Rollouts. I'm going to click on my opening number 2. And I'm going to move my top or bottom rail of selected opening. Let's click on that. I'm going to move this up 15 inches. Click on OK, and click on OK again. Now remember, that screen only comes up if you have the right information selected. If you're going to move the bottom of your opening up in a cabinet and keep the main cabinet size correct, you have to split your back, split your nailers, and split the bottom. Once I have that information in there, I can go ahead and click on Done at this point. Let's say this is a cabinet that I want to build quite often and I don't want to remember those steps. Let's go back to my custom cabinet screen here. Let's go to Save to Library and then give it a name. Split middle upper. Click on Save and click on Done. Now if I want to place that cabinet in the future on future jobs, I just go to my custom cabinet screen. I type in the name that I'm looking for, split middle upper, and click on Open. I can adjust the depth, height, and width of that cabinet. Click on Place and then place it in whatever job it is. Not just this job, it'll be placed in any job. After I've modified my cabinets for how I want them to be, next option is to go to our 3D tour. Let's click on Take 3D Tour. Once you're on the 3D tour, this is what the program looks like. It's going to give you a 3D representation of the room itself. Let's go ahead and move around in it. You can move around in it by using your keyboard and mouse, and also by using these arrow keys in the top left corner of your screen. I'm going to be using the keyboard and mouse because that is what I'm more familiar with. On our website at cabinetsolutions.net, if you go to our support page, we have our keyboard shortcut cheat sheet. I recommend printing out a copy of that and keeping it nearby. That shows you the keystrokes that you can use to make this a lot easier for you to move around in the job. I can zoom the camera out by pressing the S like Sam key on my keyboard or pressing the down arrow. And I can zoom in by pressing the W like William key on my keyboard or pressing the up arrow. I could rotate my screen left by pressing the A like Adam key or the left arrow. And I can rotate it to the right by pressing D like David or my right arrow key on my keyboard. If I want to move side to side instead of turning, I hold down the right mouse button and then I press D like David to move over to the right, and I press A like Adam while still holding down that right mouse button to move it back to the left. All my cabinets right now are a darker shade of gray or white because they have no information given over to them. Let's go ahead and adjust my colors a little bit here. Let's go to settings. Right now I have hide countertops not enabled. I have use environmental colors enabled, and what that does is that makes everything a little bit darker or dingier because our program takes light that's being bounced around from those items and kind of gives it a more realistic look. I can remove that option here to brighten everything up. It washes out some of the details, but it makes everything a little bit brighter. I also have the use Simple 3D, which gives you a very simplistic view of your job. This is useful if you want just a quick look of what it is that's being displayed. You can also change those colors here by clicking on colors over here on the right hand side, and you can change the individual colors of things. Now keep in mind, colors only appears when you're on the use Simple 3D. If I remove that check mark, I'm now looking at my 3D normally, but my colors section has changed to materials. Let's go ahead and click on that and see what that does. For materials, what I'm going to do is change what these look like. If I hover my mouse over one of the items on there and look in the lower left corner of the screen, it gives me information about what that is. This is wall number 2, cabinet number 15, which is an upper cabinet. My mouse is hovering over a door, raised panel, and that item is marked in red oak. So from this materials list here, these are all materials that are brought in from your job standards. I click on red oak, and I want to tell it what I want it to look like. In this case, I want it to look like, let's say, red oak. So scroll down until I find red oak, click on it, and now anything that's marked as red oak in our program is now displayed as red oak. Now you'll notice that some items are still marked in gray. If I hover my mouse over, that's because those are red oak plywood, which is a different material from red oak. So I scroll down from the list here until I see red oak plywood, and I tell it what I want it to look like. In this case, let's make it red oak as well. So I have that enabled here. Now my entire job is red oak. That looks great, but it can be a little bit confusing because everything looks the same. So if I click on my red oak again up top, I'm going to tell it that, okay, my doors and my face frames are made out of the same material, but I want to give them a different look. So for my face frame, I want to give it a different stain, let's say 25% darker. And now my doors pop out, but they're still made out of the same material. Let's say I want my doors to be a different material color. So let's go to honey. That's going to make them a little bit brighter, and again, pop them out away from the face frame because I want them to look a little bit different. There's many different options to play around with on here. If I wanted to, I can change my appliance for my slide in range here. I go to appliance and obstructions, and I want to select my slide in range. And let's say I wanted to change it from an electric range to a gas range. Let's say instead of white, if there's an option to change it to something different, I want to change it to stainless. Keep in mind, we're very limited to the models that we bring in, and we're also very limited to the look of those models. Some of them may have stainless, some of them may have white, some of them may be a different sink type. Our software is designed for cabinet makers, not appliances. So let's go ahead and minimize all those. Let's go ahead and get a better view of the job here. And now if I go to tools at the top, I could either edit the screenshot, which what that does is that hides all the information along the outside edges, including the movement keys, and takes a screenshot of your current job. I can print that screenshot, or I can just exit and get out of the program by either clicking on the exit button or pressing on escape to exit out of the screen. If I do edit screenshot and click on it, you'll notice my screen flickered, which it removed all the items on the outside edge and then took a screenshot. On here, I can save this screenshot by clicking on these three dots, clicking on Save As, give it a name, and then I could attach it to an email or print it out as a proposal for a customer, whatever you need to do. So after you make the changes that you want to, make it look the way that you want and show your customer, let's go ahead and go to exit out of this program. Now there are different options on here that we can do as well. Or there's job costing, panel optimizing that I mentioned earlier. Let's take a look at those. Go to Tools, Job Costing. It's going to tell me that one or more of my door or drawer front types have a cost per square foot of 0. Go ahead and click on OK. Let's go to Cabinets, and I can price out my job by lineal foot, which includes the profit in my price per foot, or I can do my cabinets by material, labor, and profit. If I do by material, labor, and profit, you get more information, but it's more in depth of what information you have to fill out for this job. Let's go to Materials Costing. I can go to Edit Material Properties, and for my items that are on here, anything that says check values next to it is an item that you need to double check. But on here, you're putting in there the cost per square foot that you get from your mill, and then what's your standard panel size. This information is great for job costing. Keep in mind, it's not really designed for hardwood. So after you set up your information in there for all the items that are in use in the job or any future jobs, go ahead and click on OK. OK again, and OK again. Let's go ahead and get out of the screen here. Let's go to Tools. I'm going to go to my Panel Optimizer. What the Panel Optimizer does is it actually lays out a sheet of material that has all the parts in there arranged for rip cuts first and cross cuts second. It's not designed to save you material, it's designed to save you time on your cuts. Let's go to Optimize and Print Layout. And let's say I want to optimize my 3/4 white melamine two-sided here. If I go to Print Preview, it's going to tell me that I need 4 sheets of that material at 49 by 97. It's going to tell me what items those are that it's cutting out, and it's going to go rips first, cross cuts second. This information is used not only for the non-CNC, but you also have it in your CNC version as well. It's going to tell me my sheet information, my yield, my drop, my kerf size, my trim length and width if needed. A lot of customers put that in as a 1/4 inch, some of them don't. That was in that Edit Material Property screen that you saw earlier. There's a faster way to get to that screen if you need to edit that as well. Just go to Tools at the top here, go to Edit Material Properties. If you want to add in a new material in your job standards, go to Edit Material List, and you can add those new material types in there. So that way you're not limited to just the information that comes with our software. One last item that I didn't really go over earlier, if you go to File, Print, we give you the assembly sheets, the master cut list, floor plan, elevations, bidding worksheet, proposal contract. Keep in mind the bidding worksheet and proposal contract, you may want to go over it with your lawyer to make sure it's legal in the state that you live in. Let's go to my assembly sheet, show you that information. I'm going to select everything and just do a print preview. The assembly sheet shows you a 2-dimensional picture of the cabinet. It'll then break down everything by the opening size over here, the shelf openings, your door and drawer front information, your face frame, your toe box parts. This is everything needed for building this cabinet. It'll do that for every cabinet in the job. Let's go to Close. Let's take a look at the master cut list. Go to File, Print, Master Cut List, leave everything selected. Or actually, let's go select none. Let's say I want my box part information only. Cabinet box parts, print preview. This gives you the master cut list for the entire job because I didn't tell it to select individual cabinets. It breaks it down by material thickness and by material name. It'll also break it down by biggest to smallest, starting by width. This is one part here, 24 1/4 by 92. It's a right panel. It's for cabinet number 3, and just goes through. It'll go through every material and every material thickness in this job. And that is the basic demonstration of the Cabinet Solutions software. If you have any questions, please feel free to give Cabinet Solutions a call. We're open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, California time, excluding weekends and federal holidays. Our phone number is 209-836-4077. The email address is support@cabinetsolutions.net. This is Jake with Cabinet Solutions. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you have a great day. This is Jake with Cabinet Solutions, and we hope you've enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, and don't forget to click on that notification bell for future videos of tips and tricks or previews of upcoming features. Do you have an idea for future videos? Comment below with different ideas or send us an email to support@cabinetsolutions.net and let us know what you'd like to see, and we'll be happy to create a video for it. Thank you again for watching.